All right, good evening. We're going to go ahead and reconvene. E, reconvene to open session. F, announcement of actions in closed session. There was none. We're going to move to G, presentation. One, boys soccer team, MyVL champions.
Thank you so much, President Alvarado, and thank you, board members, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, staff. So today, it is my pleasure and my honor to recognize our boys soccer Imperial Valley champions. Let's give them another round of applause, please. So we recognize our students when they excel. We recognize their hard work, their dedication, their commitment. And I'll tell you, board members, we couldn't be prouder than a group of young men who represented their school district, who represented their school and their city in the highest regards. I had the opportunity of being there in Chula Vista when they were playing in their CIF quarterfinals or semifinals against Torrey Pines. And these gentlemen right here played their guts out until the very last minute. I mean, there was literally 30 seconds, 1 minute left in the game, and you would think that at that time anyone else would have given up, would have stopped playing, would have stopped running, would have stopped hustling. But these gentlemen right here showed true grit. They never stopped. They were playing hard. They were trying to score their goals, and it was a hard-fought game. Torrey Pines won that game, but there's nothing to be ashamed about because how these young men represented our school district. And that's what life is all about, gentlemen. That's what the rest of your lives is going to be about. It's about never giving up. It's about always trying your best. It's about being there for one another, being there for your team, doing your part, doing your role, working hard. And it's not about what happens to you, but it's about how you respond to that. And it's not about how many times we fall down, but it's how we get up and we get up better and stronger. So congratulations to you guys on a great season. Congratulations to you guys on your championship league champions. So today we have a little, just a small little recognition, a T-shirt that shows your names and your championships for the Imperial Valley. And right now we're going to call your names up one by one, and if you could get your T-shirt and stand up here in the front so that we could then take pictures with our board. And immediately soon thereafter, I also we have a special recognition also for your coach, Coach Bernal, and we also have something special that we're going to do for him, and then also recognize your other coaches as well, who coaches never get paid for all the work and all the time that they put in to their teams, because they're coaching day and night. They're thinking about you guys and planning and strategizing on Saturdays and Sundays and into the evenings on their own time. So we also got to recognize your coaches. I'd like to ask a round of applause for our coaches as well. So at this time, President Alvarado, is it okay if I ask Coach Bernal if you'd like to share a few words?
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Coach Bernal, boys soccer, been doing this for 21 years now. Superintendent, and I think Ms. Burgos asked me to give you a few words about our recap for this year for the boys. This marks our 13th league in the past 21 years that I've been in charge. So we've been champion 13 times out of the 21 that I've been around. Like Mr. Jimenez said, they work hard. We practiced a total of 49 times this year, times 3-4 miles a day. You can do the math and see how many miles they ran. Plus, we played a total of 27 games. So they do the work, they put in the work, we compete, we give everyone, we fight everyone to the end in San Diego. We are Division I team, where we are a quarterfinalist for Division I. We did lose against Torrey Pines, but that's Torrey Pines. That is a different type of soccer they play over there, or football. We play one style here, they play a different style over there. So we don't like to lose. Of course, we accept it. The wounds are still healing 19 days later. But like I said in the banquet last week, we are going to be back. I will be back. I only have 7 graduating seniors out of 25, so most of the team will be back. They don't know because I am not very talkative. Those of you that know me, I don't talk a lot. But what I told them that day was they do much more for me than what I do for them. They teach me a lot more, and I've been learning lessons for the past 21 seasons through Soccer Boys. So publicly, I want to thank all of you for doing. I know you don't know what you do, but I'm telling you, you help me a lot more than I help you. Thank you. Mr. Jimenez, I wanted to present to you this ball signed by everyone. You are the first superintendent who's been to a playoff game in San Diego. So this is signed. I hope you cherish that because that is a special ball. That was for me, but now it's yours.
Thank you, Coach Bernal. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for this ball. This will be in my office, and I will cherish this absolutely, Coach Bernal. And since we're up here already, if I could have you stand right over here. So, Coach Bernal from the Calexico Unified School District, on behalf of our School Board of Trustees, Mr. Enrique Alvarado, Ms. Margarita Magallanes, Mr. Carlos Contreras, Mr. Luis Pacheco, Mr. Lorenzo Calderon Jr., and yours truly, Arturo Jimenez, we present to you this plaque for soccer coach Javier Bernal in recognition and appreciation of 21 seasons, 13 Imperial Valley League titles, 15 Copa de Valle victories, CIF playoffs, and 312 career wins. And we just didn't have it in enough time. Named 8 times Coach of the Year. To you, Coach Bernal. So at this time, let's get to our players here, and what I'll do is let me go grab our list, and we're going to call you guys, and Ms. Cristina Lopez and Janet Burgos will give you guys your T-shirts, and once you do get called, if you can stand up here in the front, and we'll take pictures with the board and put that up also here at the district office. Thank you. I wanted to hold it. Okay. Okay, starting with Mr. Ivan Agramont. Saúl Aguilar. Roger Cabrera. Antonio Cruz. Jamián Gascón. Mario Axel González. Alan Hernández. Joshua Hernández. Jetsay Lucero. Luis Martinez. Gael Melendez. Abraham Nili. Jared Reyes. Joe Rubio. James Sanchez. Eduardo Tavera. Andrés Bojorquez. John Patino. Damian Lopez. Benny Peterson. Salvador Perez. Oliver Navarro. Elías Aguirre. José Andrés Araujo. Isaac Serrano. Julián Sotelo. And I'm not sure if any of the team managers are here today, but we also have Fergie Rivera. Is Fergie here? They're all here? They're all here. Okay, so if I call our team managers, if you could also come to the front. Mariana Gonzalez. Brianda Sanchez. And again, our coach, Javier Bernal. Victor Piña. Mr. Piña. Daniel Benitez. And Arturo Gerardo. So if I could ask the board members if you could come to the front for a photo with our soccer champions.
I can't kneel. I gotta stand up. Mr. Jimenez. Congratulations.
Martinez, congratulations. Oh, you know what? And we have pizza for you guys. Right here? Right here in the lobby. We have pizza for you guys also as well for you guys to just pass by. Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah, we got 157 miles, boss. We got stamina. We got stamina. They can move up now if they want to. Right? Yes. Oh. Felicidades.
Sir.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go ahead and continue on. We're gonna go with H, comments from the public. The board will take any and all comments from the public related to an item on the agenda or any other item of district business that is not on the agenda. And we do have one, Xavier Rodriguez. Here you go.
Should we close the door? Oh, there's people coming in.
I have 30 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to begin by thanking you for the opportunity to speak about our upcoming negotiations. In a few minutes, you will vote on ACT's Sunshine proposal to CUSD. This process, often seen as a mere formality, in reality allows us to begin the formal process necessary to continue to work towards improving the working conditions of the certificated staff at Calexico Unified School District. In my opinion, the 2023-24 negotiation session will either substantiate or invalidate that last year's settlement was more than just a Band-Aid on the wounded relationship between CUSD and its employees. These upcoming negotiations are CUSD's opportunity to demonstrate its commitment to providing the absolute best environment for our students and the community. We have all discussed the desire to enter a new era in the school district, an era where trust and collaboration are palpable. We want the past to remain the past, and we ask you to do everything in your power to ensure that the memories of the last 20 years as they pertain to negotiations remain as memories and not as a continued reality. As the leaders of our educational institution, we have entrusted you to lead and support those that directly affect the most valuable asset in Calexico, our children. While I'm not here to talk to you about salary increases and health benefits, please remain cognizant that those and the other items in our proposal are some of the most important tools we have to show how much we value our commitment to the recruiting and retainment of the best educators we can provide our students. Thank you for taking on this task, and as always, I'm available when any of you ever have any questions about anything. I look forward to what the future brings. This district has worked hard to get some of the pieces we need to continue to find success. We are barely at the start of this journey. Let's ensure that every single step we take leads us to where we want to be. Let's also ensure that we take these steps together. In 20 years, let the legacy of this school board be that of the group that champions stability and trust. We approach these negotiations with the hope that together we can achieve anything. And we hope you share the sentiment as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Xavier. Moving on to item number I, consent agenda. All items appearing will be acted upon by one motion without discussion unless any item is pulled for separate consideration and action.
I like to pull number 1 just for a suggestion.
Any other items, board members? With that said, I'll make a motion to approve with the exception of that.
And I'll second.
So motion by myself, second by Mr. Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. So go ahead with item number
The
one.
suggestion that I'd like to recommend is that, I don't know who generates this list, but I'd like to be, if they can be more descriptive. We just have a purchase order, but, just the expense and no names or anything. Now we go to training and we don't know who's going to training and so forth. So I like to know who's going to training, for example, or why we purchase, 31 personal lunches and so forth, for, you know, that type of thing. A little more descriptive, because I mean, that way I don't have to be calling to ask.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Calderon. We could definitely look into just how much more characters we could put into this. Unfortunately, the system that we input this information to is tied directly to the county and through their accounting process. So it's actually like a software program that is character limited. However, all the items in the pay list, we have backup documentation that gives you all the information and more that you want to look at. So what we could do is I could work with the board and figure out a way where we could get you the information for the items that are on the pay list that gives you that information that you're looking at. What is it that exactly what it was for, who attended, or what it is for? Did we buy food for parents at an LCAP meeting, for example? You know, those are the types of things that I think you're asking for, and we could definitely, if not in the pay list itself, because of it's a software that we utilize throughout the county, that we don't have control over the amounts of characters, but all the background information for every expense that we make and the justifications, the cost, the who, the what, the when, the where, we could definitely provide that for you.
And thank you, I know that, but lately there's less information on it. That's why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah, and just to add on what he said, there's a couple of purchases. This was on the previous pre-list where it's over $500. Like say, for example, Home Depot, they're supposed to give an explanation. I know the last time that we were told it's all these items are added. Well, if all those items add up to over 500, let us know exactly what they're for, because we don't know what it's for. You know, as far as that goes. I mean, what's going on? So I mean, it's on there. It says items over $500 will be listed, and there's nothing attached to it. So we'd like to see that, please, just to just where we can know exactly what it is that we're approving.
We will follow up with that. Yes.
With that said, I'll make a motion to approve item number 1.
So move.
Second by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. J, information items. Number 1, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Alvarado. So I'd like to share that this Saturday we'll have our 4th annual track meet for all of our 3rd through 6th grade students who are participating in our track meet, and schools will provide the uniforms. We actually, in one of the pre-list items that we previously approved, were uniforms that, thanks to our expanded learning program, we're able to support so that our kids could be representing their school spirit and in this track meet. So the track meet will be held at Cesar Chavez Elementary. They've been practicing since February, and again, the official track race will occur this Saturday, March 11th at Calexico High School. So go to all of our elementary kids, 3rd through 6th grade. I know that they also work hard and practice and get ready with their coaches, and we're looking forward to them having a great experience, a good time, and lots of success with that. Today I'd like to dedicate the bulk of my comments to our Calexico FFA program. As we all know, we're doing our fair, our county fair, and our students in the FFA program, they're there, and they're representing us well, just like we saw our soccer kids right now. I like to recognize our students and how they're doing at the county fair. So in the category of small animals, Kaiki Tamayo placed 2nd in the advanced class, and will be advancing to the small animal round robin today. Actually, that was being held today at 6 o'clock. So, we're keeping our fingers crossed, and she will have to show all the small animals in the fair. Andrea Bravo advanced to her beginner class and placed 5th overall. Jose Shairis received Best Opposite Breed with his rabbit and placed 2nd of all his breed classes. In the category of cavies, all cavie showmen were first-year showing and did very well. Sophia cavies, okay. I had to actually look up that word. Hadn't run into it before. But KVs. Thank you, President Alvarado. Sophia placed first and Jocelyn placed second in their class and advanced to the next class. Sophia placed third and Jocelyn placed fourth at the higher level. Ana Burciaga placed third, Leila Rodriguez placed fifth, and Emily placed sixth in the novice class. Leila Rodriguez received Best of Breed, and Sofia Cortez received Best Opposite Breed with their KVs. All of their KVs received first place. In the category of chickens, Kendra Mejia advanced to the next round after receiving first in her class to then earn fifth place. All three of her chickens entered one Best of their Breed class as well. Arturo and Devana also won first place with all of their chickens as well. You can see all of our chickens in the auction taking place this Saturday. So if you want to go out there and buy a chicken and
Nuggets.
have your own add-ons. Oh, okay, and do add-ons. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Mr. Superintendent.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Superintendent, just for knowledge, some of these chickens were actually hatched at the Calexico High School. Do you know
Yes.
that? So they're from Calexico.
Homegrown. Homegrown.
They are homegrown Calexico chickens.
Yeah, they were hatched in the classroom. So
Well, and all kidding aside, I was also had the opportunity of going out there to our FFA program when they were rehearsing for the fair, and they were in their full dress. They were as if they were competing. We had like a mock trial. We had judges there. They had to go through the whole routine just in preparation for the fair. So this is something that our kids and our staff, our CT staff, takes very, very serious. And they have a lot of pride in doing this. And so so it was, and I didn't know that, Mr. Calderon, that some of our chickens were hatched right here with us. In the category of dog, we actually had the cutest dog that I've seen. I saw the dog here when I went out there to the rehearsal. Marla and her dog Joy received third place in her class. And I did ask, was the dog going to be out for auction? Because I was going to be there. And she says, no, I did not put my dog up for auction. She's keeping her dog. In the category of feeder calves, Kayla Lenhart placed third, gold. Marlene Uriarte placed seventh gold. Grecia Cepeda placed second gold and returned to show in championship drive. Kayla Lenhart placed second novice showmanship. Kayla returned to show in her junior-senior class and placed fifth place overall. Grecia Cepeda placed fourth in novice showmanship. Marlene Uriarte placed ninth in freshman-sophomore in his class. In the category of market goat, Carabella Caro and her goat Posse placed fifth in her market and sixth in showmanship class. In the category of swine, Christian and Alexia advanced to the final round and then placed with Mia Garcia and Jacob Gomez. Mia placed third, Jacob placed fourth, Christian placed seventh, and Alexia placed eighth. The Swan Show market, Mia Garcia was third gold, Jacob Gomez fifth gold, Julia Ortiz eighth gold, Christian Rubio seventh gold, Valeria Lara ninth gold, Mia Gamboa 10th gold, Alexia Iniguez 9th gold, and Calexico FFA 4th place swine overall. So congratulations to all of our FFA program. I know this is a really big deal, and it's exciting, and for them to represent our school district as they do. So thanks to all of their teachers for their hard work. Along the lines of FFA and agriculture and that industry, the Agricultural Commissioner's Scholarship, the application will become available on the Agricultural Commissioner's website on March 1st. So it became available, and the applications will be accepted starting April 1st and will only be accepted via the information on that website. So we will link that website for students, for our teachers in the audience and parents who are here, or you know students, or we will make sure that we get this information. I'm sure our FFA teachers already have it, but it's a good opportunity for our students to apply for the Agricultural Commissioner Scholarship, and the scholarship is due by April 30th. Mr. Board President, that concludes my comments. Our next board meeting will be held Thursday, March 23rd, and we will have a special board retreat study session March 11th at 8 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that, Superintendent. Number 2, LCAP Committee.
Good evening, Superintendent, President, trustees, and people in the public. Elisa Ramirez, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. Just a quick update. This week on Wednesday, we had our CSEA LCAP consultation. We had a full day with our CSEA members. Then in the afternoon, we had the consultation with our DLAC. This coming week, we're going to be having our LCAP core committee that is comprised of different educational partners from those that we've already met, includes ACT, CSEA, parents, administrators, students, and so forth. So we'll have 2 days of that next coming week. Somewhere in between, I'll be meeting with students to get some of the students' input from Calexico High School. And then the week after that, we'll have the LCAP SELPA consultation and our migrant pack. And then after that, we begin writing our LCAP and then bringing a draft to our parent advisory committee at a later date. So, just that.
Thank you. Number 3, board reports. We'll start off with our student, Sarai Aguiniga.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Well, this week we had the fair started last Friday, and this Monday we had High School Madness. And overall, our school placed second place. It was a very fun experience. I was there. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of school spirit. We also had, I think, last week. It was a mile run with students participated. It was one dash of love. 1 mile run, and I congratulate all the students who won the top 3 places. They got good gifts. I guess I would like to congratulate the soccer team who won IVLs, and also as this new season of teams kicked off, and I think right now there's a track meet going on, and I want to wish them luck. And I want to wish luck to all the juniors who next week we start our SBAC testing, and I want to wish him a good luck. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you for that, Sarai. Mr. Calderon.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our board meeting tonight. Just short, congratulations to the boys soccer team for their accomplishment, and lots of kudos to Mr. Bernal for his accomplishment in all these years. Congratulations to the rest of the athletes. We had a lot of teams that went to CIF. Unfortunately, they didn't get as high as our board's soccer, but they were there. And lastly, but not least, my sincere condolences to the Venegas and Arvizo family. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Calderon. Mr. Contreras.
Yeah, first of all, we do want to echo our condolences to those families that lost a loved one. I want to thank everybody that's here today, because I think, we had the boys come in and, do their presentation. I think a lot of times, we take a look at our sports and we undervalue some of the things that the kids do, and you counted the miles that they ran and all that stuff, right? And there's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's I see some coaches here, that put in a lot of time with the kids. Some of the members of their clubs that put in a lot of time with the kids on robotics and other things, and just really thankful for all the opportunity that you guys provide for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Contreras. Mr. Pacheco.
Had a chance to visit some cafeterias. I went to Dianza. I went over to the Willie Moreno, and I got a chance to see a face with Alex Produce. I saw the gentleman working nice and early, about 5:45, 6 o'clock. Had a chat with personnel, and everybody was working hard and getting out the food. And those are feeder schools. They supply all the food to all the elementaries, and they do a good job of maintaining lunch for our kids. So I did have, I went to Dual too. I was at a Dual school, and they were also working hard. So just checking up on our cafeteria workers and what they do, the hard work they do for us and feeding our schools. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Ms. Magallanes?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I had the opportunity to be at a training in Sacramento. I learned a lot about what's going to be going on in the construction. It's going to help me a lot to make these next decisions that are going to be coming up. I also want to go ahead and congratulate Mr. Bernal for doing an awesome work. I want to congratulate the soccer team, our students from FFA, and also Mr. Jimenez, that you're doing a great job. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Magallanes. And along the same sentiment, my condolences to the Arvizo family and the Venegas family. You're going through a hard time. Not only that, it gives us time to reflect back on our, with our own families and stuff like that. With that said, I just want to congratulate our boys soccer, Mr. Bernal, for everything that he's done. Did the math real quick, and yeah, over 147 miles that they ran. So, like I told one of the soccer players, he could have, ran all the way to San Diego and still cruised around a little bit, but not come back. But yeah, it's 147 miles is a lot of miles. With that said, I just want to, wish luck to our FFA. I know this Saturday is going to be a big showing out there. I know you went over it as far as that goes, but I want to go ahead and invite some of the board members to go out there. Even though we're going to have, our retreat at 1 o'clock, they're still going to be auctioning out there, and you can do add-ons as far as that goes. I know for the last couple of years I've been doing that. I've been going out there and just talking to some of the students out there in the barns and stuff like that. And, even though it's not a lot, but it adds up. You get, $50 here, $25 here, whatever it is, it helps them out. With that said, thank you all for being here. And let's go ahead and start this meeting off. We're going to go ahead and start with K, action items, consideration and action approval of the following items. 1, FY 2021-2022 financial report and audit certification presentation.
Thank you, President Alvarado. At this time, I'd like to ask our CBO, Ms. Maribel Paez, to approach the podium.
Good evening, President Mr. Alvarado, Board of Trustees. Superintendent Mr. Jimenez and members of the public present with us tonight. My name is Maribel Paez. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. And tonight we have Mr. Brian Hatley from Wilkinson Hatley King, which is our independent auditor consultant firm. They will be presenting our 2021-2022 final audit report. But before he comes to the podium, I do want to just this opportunity to thank staff for all of their hard work and dedication. This school finance and government auditing compliance are not easy jobs. So I really want to thank everyone, all the departments that are part of this pre-audit, on-site audit, which is our attendance, or expenditures, revenues, or grants. Because despite of all the requirements and challenges and timelines that we have, the district has been receiving an unmodified opinion from the auditor, which is one of the best opinions that a district can receive for their audits, for their financial statements and federal and state compliance. So I really want to thank all the staff, and then and Mr. Brian Hadley can really give us more details of the audit report, and then if, of course, the board has any questions for him, he will be glad to answer. Mr. Brian Hadley.
Good evening. My name is Brian Hadley, and I'm a partner with the CPA firm of Wilkinson Hadley King and Company, the CPA firm that prepared the audit report for the year ended June 30, 2022. And I appreciate what Maribel said. There's a couple of words she used, and if you noticed, one of them was independent, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to have you remember that before we get to that. This audit report is over 100 pages long. I'm not going to bore you with the 100 pages worth of detail, and there's a tremendous amount of information in there. But I'd like to just give you a brief overview, and there's three things that I do on every audit report, whether we prepare it or another CPA firm prepares it, and we're looking at it. And I think, there are some new board members, and this might be some good information for you. The first thing that I do is I look at page 1 of the audit report, the first page. That's the auditor's opinion letter. And as Maribel said, Calexico received an unmodified opinion, and I do want to correct one thing. She said that was one of the best opinions that you can receive. It is the best opinion that you can receive. Okay, so you received an unmodified opinion on the audit, and that means that the CPA firm can state that the financial statements fairly present the financial position of the district at June 30, 2022, and that the compliance items we looked at that are required by the state also met all the state requirements. And so, like I said, it's the best opinion that you can have. Okay, and then we're going to skip all the way to the back, and I look at there's a schedule of findings and question costs, and it's actually on page 100 of the audit report. So I look and see if there's any findings that need to be reported to the board and the state controller. And we did have one finding this year. It was a finding in independent study. There were a lot of changes in the program this year with regard to both long-term and short-term independent study. But in our testing, we did note that some of the independent study agreements didn't contain the parent's signature. And I just want the board to know that was not an unusual finding this year. It's a direct result of COVID, because the student was probably on independent study because they had COVID, and it was just hard to get those parents' signatures on that independent study agreement. But that's the only issue that we had with all of the state compliance issues. Okay, and then all of the state compliance items that were required to test. And then the third thing that I do is I look at the very last page, and it tells me if there were findings from the prior year audit report that were not resolved. And so I'm happy to tell you that there were no findings on the prior year audit report, so there was nothing to resolve. So just in quick summary, you have an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can have. You had one finding that was not an unusual finding this year that was what I consider directly related to COVID, and there were no findings on the prior year audit report. And then I'd like to just briefly tell the board why the audit report was issued in March. And I'm going to go back to that word that Maribel used, that independent. She said Wilkins and Hadley King is our independent auditors. Independence is the very foundation of an audit report. If we're not independent, if I'm auditing my wife's company, I'm not going to be independent, and I can't. People aren't going to. An outside observer is not going to look at the CPA firm very favorably, and the district, if we're not independent. So independent is the actual foundation that the audit processes that we do is built on. And one of the American Institute of Certified Public Accounting rules is that if there are unpaid fees from the prior year, the CPA firm is not independent. And the reason there were unpaid fees is because the prior year audit report, the June 30, 21 audit report, was submitted to the state controller timely in January, a year ago January. And in accordance with the contract that's between us and the board, the last 10% of that contract can't be paid until the state certifies that audit, until the state controller goes through a process and reviews it and certifies that it's correct. And the state controller is so far behind that they did not have that certification done until the end of February. And so as a CPA firm, we can't issue the audit report, because if we would have done that before that the state certified that, we would not have been independent. And we could actually, lose our CPA license over that. So it is a very big deal, but it was nothing to do with the business office. It was just an issue, again, related to COVID, where the state controller is behind. And hopefully that won't happen again next year. Now, if any of the members of the board have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
I have no questions.
President Alvarado, if I could make a quick comment right now. And thank you, Mr. Wilkinson, for giving that explanation on the one finding that we did have on the master agreements for independent studies. It's my understanding, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, that during COVID, the state changed the rules.
Yes.
Or maybe not so much the rules, but the procedures on what districts were required to do for independent study. And as you correctly stated, there was short-term independent study, and then there was what became an independent study school, if you will, kind of like a school within the school. And so there was a lot of changes that were happening, throughout that COVID, in addition to people having to be isolated or and all that sort of stuff that, we weren't as meeting face to face in person, and so getting those signatures from parents, sometimes for us, and you might not know this, and based on my experience as being the lead COVID response person at the district I was at, it was difficult because sometimes you would get those agreements over the phone, so it was just a very, very difficult circumstance to try to navigate through.
Yes. Yes, I completely agree with that. And the state, didn't give those very much advance warning for that or advance notice of what was going to happen.
Right.
And it was just a difficult situation, and it was directly related to COVID.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, President Alvarado.
Well, thank you for that
Thank
presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 1. Or action item.
Second.
Second by Mr. Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Item number 2, approval of fiscal year 2022-23 second interim financial reports.
Thank you, President Alvarado. This is also a brief presentation by Ms. Baez. Ms. Baez?
Good evening. Good evening, President Mr. Alvarado, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Mr. Jimenez, and Maribel Paez, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Tonight I'll be presenting the 2022-2023 second interim budget report. The budget process, we know that we do have a couple of opportunities, a couple of reports that have to be submitted for financial review for our Imperial County Office of Education and the California Department of Education. This is the second interim, which covers the first 7 months of our expenditures and revenue. So this is actually or all of our expenditures and revenue up to January 31st, so July 1st of 2022 through January 31st, 2023. So everything, when we build out a budget, is actually based on assumptions and your key factors and planning factors for your 22-23 multi-year projections. We do participate on the January's budget proposal, Governor's Newsom proposal in Orange County. And they did, of course, provided a lot of the proposal numbers and key factors for our upcoming years. So basically, our second interim is based on the most updated information from legislation and governor office. Let me go over some of the changes. For example, for the cost of living for 2023-24, that one did increase on our first interim with the 23-24. It was at 5.38. That was the COLA for 23-24. Now the proposed budget, according to the governor's budget proposal, is at 8.13 for 23-24. They did address, though, that the upcoming years did decrease. So for 24-25, it used to have a 4.02 COLA. Now it's at 3.54. So they did and noted that for 23-24, they are trying to address, for all of the changes in supply and all of the changes in inflation, the COLA to an 8.13 but then the upcoming years is very unknown. Then from there, there were no other major changes from first interim to second interim. Let me go over. We do have our call pers employer rate going from 27% for 23-24, and then for 24-25 at 28.10%. And then our costers employee rate right now, it's projected to be a status quo. Any questions on our key assumptions and planning factors?
Yeah, it seems like we had a reduction of about $1 million in property taxes from 23 to now.
Yes, so we've been receiving this year redevelopment taxes this year, but those are unknown. Those are received through the Imperial County Treasurer's Office, and we are being deposited right now about over $1 million on redevelopment. But I cannot right now, the Imperial County Office of Education on the LCFF calculator does not suggest for CVOs to budget redevelopment fees, taxes for upcoming years. Only what is your base property, which will be the 5 million.
So sometime in July or so, then that should reflect in this report.
Yeah, if we do get for 23-24, then we would do that revision. But as now, as we can only project things that we know,
Correct.
and there are more base, so they just let us know. You know what? You guys do not put any revenue for redevelopment because they're unknown
Yeah, thank you.
at this point.
And if I could just kind of reiterate something that Maribel mentioned about, she mentions to this as the governor's proposal. So just as we can know the timeline is, in January, the governor presents a proposal to the state. This is what I want to do, what I would like to do, me, the governor of the state of California, right? That still has to get voted on. So then in May, it's called the May revise. And so in May, he makes adjustments. So, things like the COLA could go up or it could go down, just different things could change at the governor's May revise.
Mm-hmm.
And then by June 30th, then that's when then there's legislation on by when it has to pass the budget, has to be finalized. So one of the tricky things about looking at school districts' finances right now, January, February, March, is that we really are basing that on assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
Best educated assumptions. They're not just crazy, wild, out of nowhere. They're the best educated assumptions, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, it's a prediction. It's not final until it does get final. By May, we get a better idea. It's looking like it's going to be like this, but then ultimately, like I said, it's not final until June. Yeah.
Yes, and then just to add that sentence from May to June to enacted budget, then the governor comes with all these new items. So we really don't know until the governor really signs the budget. Something that I do want to address, it's the estimated attendance yield. If you see the second row there, the funded average daily attendance, we are getting funding for 8,517. Our actual ADA for 22-23 is 7,666, which is a difference of 850. And this is because of the mitigation, the COVID-19 ADA Relief and Mitigation Act, that we've been receiving these funds. So we're getting approximately about 12 million over on 22-23. If the average for ADA per student, it's 14,000. So we're really getting 12 million over this year because of this act. We do not know if there's going to be a COVID-19 ADA relief for 23-24.
And this is why board members, and I'll take advantage of this opportunity to say, like, this is why daily student attendance is so important to our school finances, and this is why we need to be working so hard from the ground up. We are responsible. It's not one of those things that they're responsible. They're responsible. It's the teachers, it's the principal, it's the district. We're all responsible to try to bring our kids to school, right? To try to get them there, whatever. Sometimes I know schools have incentives. Sometimes even teachers within the classrooms, they have perfect attendance awards. Schools do that as well. but trying to increase our students' attendance, our ADA. I think right now we're hovering right around 95%. Am I correct?
91%.
91%. We were at 95% pre. We're at 91%. Pre-COVID, the average district, you were looking good if you were like at 97%. On your ADA, right? We're at 91. So this is all of our responsibility, for my responsibility, and everyone's responsibility to do everything we can. And so we need to be looking at ways to incentivize our kids, to motivate our kids, to bring our kids to school, because every day they're missing, it's a day that we lose out on funding. So we can't do. There's a lot of factors regarding the declining in enrollment, and every single school district in the state of California has been declining in enrollment, which I believe, with the exception of one rural school district in northeastern California, but every school district has been declining enrollment. There's birth rates factors, there's the cost of living, people moving out for more affordable housing. There's a lot of that sort of stuff happening in California, that where there's fewer babies and all that sort of stuff. So there's certain parts about the loss of enrollment, or that's out of control. But there is a little bit more control in our average daily attendance. Our kids, attending school, not staying home, but choosing to go to school. And their kids, they're young, they're teenagers or whatever, and sometimes going to school might not be their number one thing that they'd like to do in the whole world. But whatever we could do to get them there, it could help us out with our funding and our budget.
Exactly. So we not only have severe chronic absenteeism now, but we do have declining enrollment on top of it. What were the changes from first interim 2022-2023 that I presented in December back in for second interim? These are the major changes that happened for your revenues and expenditures. And basically, a lot of this is also due to all of the new information from the January's governor's proposal. One of the items are for the LCFF resource, which is your main source of revenue. They did added a portion for 23-24 TK ADA, and then a minor adjustment to our CallPADS certified report. We also added a new ESSER after school summer program fund of $630,000, and other minor changes to Title I, Title II. Then we also added a new literacy coaches and reading specialist grant program, and a round 5 career technical education incentive from CTEIG. And we also, under our local revenues, we added a strong workforce round 5 funding, and we made some adjustments to the interest earned. That gave us a change in our revenues of 4.6 plus for 22-23 second interim. So we're adding $4,006,000 more. We also, whenever you have, of course, an increase in your revenues, you're also going to have to modify all of your expenditures, meaning that if you have a grant, you also have to do all the allocations for your expenditures. If it's going to be support, then you're going to need certified salaries, benefits, materials and supplies, and everything that those grants, are used for. So those are all the changes on the expenditure of 3.9 that basically their impact because of all the revenues that were added for our second interim report. The ending fund balance as of June 30th, we're adding 778 from first interim, giving us an ending fund balance of 49 million for 22-23. That's how we're estimating that we're going to close the year on June 30, 2023. And we do have some components of ending fund balances. They are part of that fund balance, which is a revolving cash, or stores, which is our warehouse inventory, or prepaid accounts, restricted. And then we do have other school improvements, which we did assign 4.4 for school improvements, and economic uncertainties or 3%. And so that's all that information there. Any questions on this slide? Then I just wanted to kind of show a snip of our LCFF. Remember, our LCFF calculator comes from, they actually send, FICMAT sends that calculator to ICOE, which is Imperial County Office of Education. Then they go ahead and send it to the district. So this is actually information that we, as the LEA and district office, have to use based on the calculator. So it's just a little bit more information on detail on what is their base, within what is all the additions to supplemental and concentration that the district is receiving, and getting a total of the 125 millions in revenue. So it's just a little bit more detail on our revenue source. And yes, our LCFF, it's 58% of our revenues comes from our LCFF state aid. Then on our second interim projected expenditures, there also a graph there. And we know that approximately 87% of CUSD unrestricted general fund goes through salaries and benefits. Our multi-year projections, this part here is actually built with the key assumptions that I explained at the beginning. All of the, and the LCFF calculator for all the projected years. So basically the LCFF resource comes from the calculator, which is the first row there. The 125 million, then 129 million for 23-24, and then for 24-25, the 129 million as well. So the total revenues for 22-23 is 214 million. For 23-24, there is a drop to 177 million, and that is because the majority, it's all the lack of one-time funds. And I'm going to show you in a next slide how that looks, but all the lack of one-time funds that were received this year. So right now there's not a lot of consistency on our budgets because of all the one-time grants that districts, school districts and LEAs are receiving. So it's basically very, very hard for you to see really a pattern or to see consistency because of all the one-time funds. For, I already explained 22-23. For 23-24, we do have right now we're projecting a small deficit spending of 1.7 million, which drops our ending fund balance to 48 million. And then for 24-25, it does drop the ending fund balance to 43 million. Breakdown of remaining restricted one-time funds. So this one really explains how, for example, from 1 year, from 22-23, we're using all the one-time funds. This is 48 million that we kind of receiving in one-time funds. And for 23-24, it drops to 32, and then for 24-25, it drops to 18. And it explains, there all the allocations for all of those additional grants, one-time. They should be used for one-time expenditures. Fiscal challenges ahead. Again, Mr. Jimenez did a great job of declining enrollment. We have ADA. We have high contributions to underfunded programs like special ed and a routine restricted maintenance account, or pension employer rate increases. We have inflation, which is the cost of doing business is going up. Decline of state revenue. So there's a lot of supply chain and a lot of high demands right now for our materials and supplies. And as a closing note, the district currently maintains sufficient reserves and is presenting to the Board of Education a positive certification, meaning that the district will meet its financial obligations for the current fiscal year and subsequent 2 years based on current projections. Any questions?
Are we maintaining more than 3% reserve? Are we
Yes, we are.
maintaining more than a 3% reserve?
Yes, we are.
And that
Oh,
3%?
yes, we are.
That 3% will cover for how much?
For maybe 2 weeks of operations, because it's about 15 million that we need to cover payroll and to cover our accounts payable. We need about 15 to 16 million on a monthly basis. So if we, for example, put only 6 million, we were not even able to sustain about 2 weeks of operations.
And to clarify a little bit, Mr. Pacheco's question, the state minimum requirement for reserve for economic uncertainty is the 3%, and we're at the state minimum. That's not the recommendation. FICMAT and School Services of California have much higher recommendations than the 3% state minimum, but we're meeting our obligation, our legal obligation, by keeping the 3%. So when you're saying if we're carrying more than the 3% for our reserve for economic uncertainty, technically, no. Technically, the answer to that question is no. We're only carrying the 3%. That's what we showed up there. If need be, right, can we transfer funds to help us? Let's say we were to get to the point that Maribel was explaining, like for Mr. Alvarado's question, like for how long would that take us? Well, no more than a few weeks. And if we had to meet our financial obligations, meet payroll, pay salaries, pay benefits beyond those 2 weeks, then we would have to start pulling away from other programs and services, to be able to make those types of obligations. But right now, it would require a board resolution to direct staff and a board vote to say, you know what, in Calexico, we want to carry a 5%, a 6%, a 7%. I want to recommend something very, very high. But if the board wanted to increase it by a few more percentages to at least get us through 1 month of salary and benefits, that's a conversation we would have to have, and ultimately a vote that the board would have to make.
No. Mr. Jimenez, since you're on the mic, on the last page, we have less enrollment in California. We can't control that. Birth rate, we can't control that. But the third one, we can. So can you tell the public what we are doing or attempting to do to bring these kids to school?
Right, the chronic absenteeism?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, those are the things that I just mentioned right now. I think we've put a lot of focus and a lot of attention on the SAR program. And the SAR program is a district-wide program where working with school staff and district staff, it's a process of notifying parents, meeting with parents, sending letters out to parents. We contract with an organization or a company called A2A, Attention to Attendance, where they help monitor and track and send letters out after you're out, for 3 absences. We send out a letter to the parents, and thereafter, and then we have meetings. That's very important, and that's something that we have established in the district to try to address chronic absenteeism, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? I do believe that we need to do other things above and beyond the A2A and the SAR process, to increase our attendance. That's something that, personally, I also want to talk with staff, teachers, our teachers union, our administrators, because like I said, we're all responsible for this, right? To see what programs, what can we do to increase our daily attendance. I know in Calexico we put a lot of focus on the SAR process, which kind of tends to be more of I don't want to say punitive, but more of a monitoring process of sending letters out, bringing parents in, having meetings with parents, signing forms, signing agreements. Ultimately, technically speaking, the SAR process can lead to the district attorney's office, although it's very rare, and I'm sure that the district attorneys got their hands caught up with a whole bunch of other things. So that's something that we're doing, Mr. Calderon, right now. But I know school sites and like I said, individual classroom teachers, principals, also could have their own programs at their school for attendance incentives and whatnot. But that's something I think that we need to look at it district-wide to see what's working, what are models out there that are already taking place, to increase our attendance and improve that, chronic absenteeism that we're having right now.
How many SARBs have we had year to date? Do we know?
We have SARBs, exactly how many SARBs?
It was 18.
It was around 18.
So 18. So we're at 7 months. So 18.
Yeah.
So we're averaging.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a whole process. You know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I keep saying. It takes all of us, right? The SAR process, begins. There's certain things that need to start at the school site. You know, it doesn't jump all the way straight, to the district level, right? You don't have a kid missing three days and as a result of that, they jump to level 5 on that, right? There's parent phone calls and there's letters that go out, and then there's meetings with the site administration, and so there's that's what I'm saying. We all have to assume responsibility for that, because if we're only looking at it that it's a district issue, it's a classroom issue, it's a school issue, it's the parents, it's the teacher, it's the principal, it's like, then I think we really are missing the boat there, and we're really missing the opportunity of all of us working together cohesively, and all of us doing our part to increase our student attendance. I don't think it's one of those things that we're pointing fingers at each other and saying like whose fault is it, but rather let's work together, so together we could address this issue.
Any other questions for him?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll wait till May. We'll wait for May.
We'll wait for the May revise and then the June budget adoption.
So with that said, I'll make a motion to approve. Second by Mr. Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Number 3, board action to approve the Associated Collegiate Teachers Sunshine initial proposal
So
to
moved.
Calexico Unified School District for negotiations of successor collective bargaining agreement. Motion by Mr. Contreras, seconded by Ms. Magallanes. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Number 4, board action to approve Calexico Unified School District Sunshine, the initial proposal to the Associated Teachers Association for negotiations on successor collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Who's there was
I did.
a couple over there. So it was Contreras, and I believe, or we'll go with Calderon and Magallanes. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Number 5, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Steel Inspectors of Texas Incorporated for the in-plant welding inspection for the district-wide shade structures.
I motion to approve with some questions.
And I'll second.
Who can answer the questions? Is this company just gonna inspect the shades, or they're gonna build the shades?
So this, for this item right here, Mr. Calderon, so under DSA, the Department of State Architecture, there's a requirement for an inspection to happen at the place of fabrication where the shades are being built. That they're being built correctly with all the proper welding and tools and equipment, and that they're being done right. So the company that we had contracted with for the shades actually manufacture out in Texas. So we had to hire a company, an inspector in Texas, to go to the manufacturing warehouse to do the inspection there. Not there's another inspection once they get installed, once they get placed here, but this is an inspector that goes to Texas or is in Texas and inspects the manufacturing of the shades inside of the warehouse.
And the only reason I'm asking, I mean, its average cost is $2,500 per shade. That's a lot of money, but for an inspection. But then again,
Yeah.
that's required, so.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, not 2,500, 300, 3,000?
4,500.
But I mean, if we have to do it, we have to do it. I mean, I know that the company's from Texas, so.
Yeah.
the only other question that I had is on each additional day will be charged $500 per day.
On the yeah.
I mean, what's to stop them from not staying an extra day?
Right, you're talking about beyond the
The scope.
The scope of work.
Right.
I will move for approval on that with the limitation of eliminating the extra charge per day.
There was already a motion on the board. There was one by Calderon. I seconded it. So, with that said, is there any more questioning? No.
Let's put up
All
the
in
vote.
favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. As is. Number 6, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Medic First for professional services, CPR training, AED, and first aid certification for the expanded learning program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Calderon, seconded by Magallanes. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Number 7, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Medic First for professional services, CPR training, AED, and first aid certification for the Calexico High School CTE program.
So moved.
Second.
Or
Go.
second, with just a question, are we gonna install these AEDs in the CTEs? Because I don't think we have any yet, but I'm just,
I think I've seen a couple.
So this is actually, Mr. Calderon.
for training, I know it's
this is the
training, but
training.
I'm
Oh,
talking
you're asking
about
the
having the
additionally.
equipment there for them.
Okay, I could follow up with that, Mr. Calderon, and provide it to the board in my weekly report.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. So there's a motion by Magallanes, seconded by Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Number 8, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Quality Restorations Constructions to replace damaged shades at Enrique Camarena Junior High School and Jefferson Elementary School.
Mr. President, I have a question here. I was looking at this item, and we approved this item back in December of 2022 with USA Shades. And then now we have the quality restoration construction. Don't we have to bring it back and dismiss the bid? Wasn't it a bid?
Yeah.
It wasn't a bid?
It was a bit, so did you make a motion?
Not yet.
No, I'll make a motion to approve, but I'll go ahead and allow for questioning.
And the reason I'm also asking is that we had USA Shades, which their business is shades. Now we have Quality Restoration Construction that dedicates themselves to fixing kitchens and, homes and so forth. So my question is, why did we go with this other contractor if we had someone that was a professional that would, I'm not saying the other company's professional, but what I'm saying dedicates themselves to shades. And that's probably why these shades didn't last long, because we didn't have a good installer in the first place.
Well, actually, the installer was USA Shades that had installed the shades.
last
and-
ones?
Yes.
Okay.
And Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that was a while back. But before Danny mentions, one of the issues we're having with USA Shades is just the timeline and having them come out and complete the job. Yeah, and so we found a local company who could do the job, who could actually do it for less and could actually get on it almost immediately. We were having a very difficult time for this person to come out here and do this work. Danny, could you add to that a little bit?
So the actual company's Sunshades, but they don't have bonding capacity, so they went through the company that's on the board agenda to be able to process it. That's because of the bonding capacity that they don't have. So they're working on it, but they sub-hired through Quality Restoration to be able to do the shades.
Which company?
Sunshades.
Sunshades?
Sunshades. It's a local company out of
So
Central.
it's not Quality Restoration then?
The company that's actually doing it is Quality Restorations because they have the bonding capacity,
Okay,
but
yeah,
Sunshade is
okay.
the actually ones that are doing it. So they subcontract Sunshades.
Contractor, subcontractor.
It's a subcontractor.
All right, well,
And with that said, it's like half the cost or something like that, correct? Also
Yes,
as well?
it is at a better cost.
Faster time.
It is also faster timing. And we did immediately reach out when the board last approved it to that company that we approved it with. And here we are months later and still have not been able to get that done. And so our interest is to get it done. And summer is quickly approaching, and we know in the valley, the sun beats down pretty hard, and not having shades over lunch tables and playground equipment could become an issue. So before that happens, we wanted to get something going as soon as possible.
all right. I know the importance of it, so I'll second that.
So motion by myself, second by Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. We're on number 9 now. Recognition of Booster Club, the Calexico Softball Pride Booster Club.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Can I make a comment though, real quick?
Sure.
As far as that goes, our intention as a board was never to not approve this. Our intention as a board was just to come back with some information as far as it goes. There was a lot of stuff going out there as far as the fundraising and stuff like that. They could still fundraise while this was on hold, but they had to go through the ASB office.
Well, the question that I have, the question that came up during the meeting, were they substantiated or not? Do they have to go through the process? In other words, because we had other booster clubs that are existing now, do the softball booster, do they have to go through these new criterias?
No, absolutely, Mr. Calderon. So our softball booster club has met all the requirements and all the criteria that they're required to undergo. The question was specifically if now under some of the new rules that have come up, do they have to be a 501c3 nonprofit? Well, that is actually a recommendation. It is not a legal requirement.
Well, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, if we already have booster clubs, then so be it. Let's go.
We're legal, we're legitimate, and,
Okay.
and they have
Alright.
completed.
Yeah, and with that said, just before I could finish up, what I was stating was that they were allowed to fundraise. The only thing was that they would have to go through the ASB office to go ahead and get, allocated whatever they were going to fundraise that day through the ASB office. But with that said, there's a motion by
I
Calderon.
second it.
Oh, you seconded? Who
Motion
made
by
the-
myself.
Oh, motion by Magallanes, seconded by Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 6-0. Number 10, first reading of revised board policy and administrative regulation 3515, campus security. Motion to approve.
Second.
So there's a motion by myself, seconded by Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Number 11, first reading of revised board policy and administrative regulation 0450, comprehensive safety plan. Motion,
moved.
second.
Question,
Yes,
it
go ahead.
mentions surveillance cameras. Do we have an idea where we want them, junior highs, high schools, all the schools?
We already have them, and if I could ask Ms. Limon to address your.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board of Trustees. We currently do have cameras at all of our sites, and every year we're adding more and more cameras. It just depends on where we find the need. Right now, we're readjusting some of the cameras based on what we're finding, but part of, especially this board item, is the fact that there's new components and adding more surveillance in specific areas, for example, areas that facing the restroom, not in the restroom, but facing the restroom, or facing areas that we know that there's a lot of student traffic, or if there's an area that we see that needs more surveillance because students happen to congregate, or we see a need because we've had an altercation or some kind of issue in that area. That's where we're focusing our cameras at, but all of our sites are equipped with cameras.
Ms. Limon, what kind of storage are we keeping these recordings, or are they like a cloud, or?
Mr. Perez is actually, Eduardo Perez, thank you, is usually the one, but
Yeah.
Mr. Jimenez, if you'd like
I
to.
could tell you though, Ms. Magallanes, that it is a 30-day loop.
Yeah.
And so we do have access, as we have had to this year, whether it's a police matter or whether it's an internal investigation matter where, most often if something happens, we're looking into it. We find out about it within those 30 days, and so that's a pretty good timing. So the storage on that to hold. I remember, working with Calexico PD. We were providing video cameras, and we provided literally thousands of hours of recordings from different cameras because we were able to have that long of a time for of the video recording. Sometimes they're like 2 weeks, but we have a 30-day loop on our cameras. And if we don't save it, we could save it forever. Once we saved it, it could be saved forever. But then after 30 days, it loops around again. So it's a pretty good camera system when it comes to having footage available if something were to arise that we would need it for.
And the site administrators have immediate footage, so they're able to see it on their computers, they're able to see it on their phones, so they do have immediate footage if they need to quickly respond. But again, the cameras are outside. Any other questions?
I have a suggestion. Go ahead, Mr.
No,
Pacheco.
that's right.
Now that we have the safety plan and everything, I would recommend, we had a parent by the name of Zoe Garcia last
Yes.
board meeting to meet with these parents and kind of inform them where we're at and meet with our staff also.
We are currently working, Mr. Calderon, with the parent group, so I do have the parent safety committee. And so at each session, we meet on a monthly basis. So at each session, we do go over the components of the comprehensive safety plan. And so, for example, during the last last committee meeting, we went over our discipline policies. So I've explained that portion of it. I've explained the standard standard response protocol procedure, and I've invited the police chief. He's been there with us also. So we've been guiding our staff committee as well as our parent committee on all of the components of the comprehensive safety plan. So the three board agenda items and board policies that I have up here all tie hand in hand. There's some new issues not issues, but there's some new components, such as now they're requiring us to have a tactical response, and they're also requiring us to work with the city, with the board. I'm not there yet, but with the board and with the law enforcement regarding our active shooter plan. So I have already met with the chief of police on that. We've started our plan, and then once we finished it and I've vetted it through our committees, then I'll work with the board on that as well.
Mr. Pacheco, did you have a?
No, it's fine.
All right. My only question was, didn't we pay a company to come out and do some type of plan on where to place the cameras at before all this stuff was going on, as far as that goes?
Yes, that's correct. So when they came in, they did work with the administrators and they did place the cameras where they thought it would work. But at the same time, when they're actually recording and when they're actually seeing events that are happening, we've seen that some of the cameras have had to be rearranged or, just tweaked a little bit because, for example, we found that one camera was just facing an air conditioning unit. So that camera had to be rearranged to make sure that it was facing the actual area that
So-
needed to be surveyed.
My question is, why did we pay this company to come out and advise us how to place these cameras and stuff like that? That's what we gave them that contract for, to come out and to actually, survey where the best areas were for the cameras and stuff like that, and for them to do something like this. It's kind of.
If I may, really quick, I don't want to give the impression that the hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah,
cameras
they're
that
not.
we have out
This
there.
is one in-
correct.
Uno y
facing,
otro. It's just a little bit.
One second, Alex. Are facing an air conditioning unit, right? All right. As a matter of fact, the cameras that we have at one of our schools actually help police clear a criminal case because what the cameras showed and did not show. So the great majority of our cameras are facing the correct ways and are showing points of entries, are showing fronts of schools, parking lots, playgrounds, hallways and whatnot. But when we do come across cameras that are not, of course, we'd have to address it. But please
And
don't.
it is a very small percentage, like one in the high school, right?
Well,
One.
I think that should have been stated in the beginning. There was one out of like how many cameras? Right now
Right.
we're just like we're making it seem like if there's all these cameras need to be moved
No,
around.
no, not at all. No, it's just one here and there, and we do adjust them immediately as soon as we're aware. We do adjust them, and they do move. Some of them move every once in a while, if they shake or something like that. But the majority, and I will say the majority, and we can go back out there and we can go and make sure that all of them are, where they're supposed to be pointing. We have been, but again, there was one like that. We did readjust it immediately as soon as we found out. It wasn't in an area that was frequented. It was just in an area that was closed off. And so, like I said, and then once we do get to the high school again, we're going to have to readjust again. And we will, once construction starts, we need to move those. And we'll be working with Danny and with the company again, making sure that everything is okay.
All right.
Okay? Any
So
other questions?
There was a motion and a second. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. 12. First reading of revised administrative regulation 3516.2 bomb threats. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Number 13, notice of completion for CT shade structure at Calexico High School. Motion to approve.
So move.
Second by Contreras. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. And we're going to go ahead and move on to L, reconvene to earlier closed session. It's, what time is it? 7:35. So we'll be going back into closed session.